So my name is Gabriele Torsello, and I'm a freelance photojournalist, photographer. Basically, I use photography as a language. That's my own language to communicate, to tell story, and I treat it as a proper language. I think through photography, and I became very interested in photography when I was very young, looking at those images on the magazines. And for me, it were not just pictures, but like some windows, that you look through those windows and there are stories, real people. Then I got my first camera, and I realized that through the lens I could see much better. And this was great. And I started taking pictures about everything. I was, always with this camera. And many years later, when I was 20, I left my village in South Italy just with a small rucksack and my camera. I ended up in Rome and was documenting people there. But it was very natural for me. I didn't have in mind to do a reportage, really. But I was, taking pictures of people that I met on the street, especially in the night. So I went to a UN agency in Rome, FAO, Food Agriculture Organization. I showed them my portfolio and I said, look, I'm going to India. Do you need anything? A reportage, a story, whatever. And after looking at the picture, they say, okay, do a story about water. I say, water? Yeah. What about water? I asked. I say, water, that's it. And then, I said, okay, it's the UN, so they look at, human situation, things. I'm going to stay in a village where there is no water. And I managed to rent a small hut in a village. And I was living together with those people. They didn't have water. They had to walk miles to get few liters of water. And I was living in the same condition. That made me understand what was water really. If you don't get close to the subject, I thought, you don't see it really. You just don't see it. Anyway, I was carrying on with my work, and while staying in the south, I used to buy those newspapers. And every day there was something about Kashmir. Bombs in Kashmir, people killed in Kashmir, terrorist attack in Kashmir, every day. Just news, short news, but without any explanation. So I started to ask people, what's going on in Kashmir? Where is this Kashmir? And nobody want to talk to me about Kashmir. Actually, when I pronounce just the word Kashmir, the Indians get very upset. They don't like to talk about it. So I said, okay, well, if no one wants to talk to me about Kashmir, this party is on the news every day. I go there. And I went, and I started to document the situation, just documenting daily life. And at that time, I didn't know much about Kashmir. I discovered Kashmir during that trip. And when sometimes people talk about violation of human rights, that we have violation of human rights everywhere, but in this place, there was a violation of, to be alive. That was a crime for Kashmiri, to be alive. They did have at that time no rights at all. People could not speak about freedom, about political view, or they could do nothing, because there were a special act that the force could arrest and kill people. There was no need to show any act of violence. They were sometimes looking for militants, so you had those forts used to walk in the downtown, approaching some buildings, some houses, and giving few minutes to evacuate the house. If you don't, we just enter and start shooting. Doesn't matter who is in there. And sometimes they put the people came out and they put them in circle, and the soldier will look at them, said, "You, long beard, you killed, you killed, you arrested." That's what they used to do. And anyway, I came back to Europe, to London, and as soon as I arrived, I heard there was a talk about Kashmir in the House of Lords near Westminster. So I went there to listen to this talk. And then when they finished, I introduced myself. Say, "Look, I just back from Kashmir, and I got lots of photographs, and I got lots of things to say." And then they organized a talk for me to show my point, which was not really my point, was the point of the people. Because I realized that the people who knew about Kashmir knew about the political conflict between India and Pakistan. That's what they used to tell me. "Yeah, it's a mess between India and Pakistan. You can't do anything about it." Say, no, I don't care about India or Pakistan. I'm talking about the people, because Kashmir is not just a piece of land. There are people living there. What about them? And this is my reportage, this is my story. I'm showing you a story of people who lives there. And then I start to publish with The Observer, with Amnesty International, organizing exhibition, and just showing those photos, about daily life. So working for about 7 years on Kashmir, organizing exhibition, publishing report, articles in different countries, in England, in Germany, in Italy, in France, in Japan, in the States. And then on 9/11, I decided to go to Afghanistan. As soon as that happened, I said, now there is going to be a war in Afghanistan, because they will be looking for Bin Laden, and that's where he is. So I managed to go to Afghanistan, and I really enjoyed to travel in Afghanistan. I knew the culture, and I was living like an Afghan, because again, to report on something, you need to get very close to the story, and you have to understand their culture. Otherwise, we risk that we filter the story ourselves. We need to know what we are dealing with. We need to know the cultural language in order to report on something, in order to understand each other. And so I spent lots of time on that. To make it short, in 2006 I went back to Afghanistan, because in 2006 there was against the Taliban emerging, there were lots of fights, and the center of the fighting was in Helmand, this region in the south of Afghanistan. So I decided to go there, and I went to Lashkar-Gah. Lashkar-Gah means the city of the warrior, and it was a very tough place. I mean, as soon as I arrived, the paramilitary force tried to kill me, because they thought I was a terrorist, or I was carrying explosive in my bags. Then I wanted to go to Musa Qala. Musa Qala at the time was the headquarters of the Taliban, because I have to tell you that I believe in order to do a good reportage, we should be able to talk with everybody. If someone's saying don't, or the Taliban, for instance, are bad people, and UN not to talk to them. Well, I say no, I do talk to them. In fact, at that time, there was in Afghanistan that journalists didn't supposed to do any interview to the Taliban, or they should not talk about anything that could upset the international coalition. And I say, come on, man. I mean, you have to report. We have to show people what are the different sides. The more we know, the more we could maybe help each other by dialogue. But if you put a wall, how can we talk? How can we have this dialogue culture? Or is this just a spot dialogue of culture? We need to know each other, even if we have different point of view. So, during my reportage, I always try to do that. That's why I decided to go to Musakala, which was a very tough place. On the way to Musakala, there were people hanged on the tree, soldiers. There were, Musakala was just bombed, air bombed. It was a mess. So I got my permission. I start to document lots of situation, and then after a few days I left Musakala back to Lashkargah, and on the way back from Lashkargah, we've been stopped a few times, but for security check. We were just checking the driver paperwork, and then they stop us again, and they say, wow, another checkpoint. So what is going on? I look on the street and I see 4 people with a Kalashnikov. They came in the bus, and they came directly to me. He didn't check no one. There were 50 people in the bus. No one was checked. No one was robbed. No one. They just were looking for me. So I went down the bus, and then they put me in their car. They blindfolded me, and we went off to the middle of nowhere. And then they chained me up, and they keep me locked in a room for 23 days. It was hard, very hard. And in order to stay calm, I said, okay, I accept that the worst that can happen, the worst you can do to me is to kill me. But you can do nothing else. If you kill me, okay, it's just a matter of few seconds, then everything is over. Because, if you die, you don't suffer. But the people who leave behind, they are going to suffer very much. But anyway, then there was lots of support all around the world, in UK, in Italy, in Afghanistan, in the States, calling for my release. And at the end, after 23 days, I was released. And then I tried to figure out what happened really, who were those people behind my kidnapping. And I spent about 3 years working on that. And it was very, very, emotional. And because sometimes, I got lots of colleagues, they lost friends, they lost their life in those places. It's not anymore like before. And it's getting out of control because of course information, the press is a very important role. We show people what's going on. And the main target, the main reason why we do that is because we believe that we as photojournalists, believe that if you show some violation of rights or, some situation, maybe some decision maker could do something. We don't pretend to change the world, but we try to because every single of us, you know, has to do his own part. And for me is you know, showing those situation and then hoping that someone can do something. But in the same time, you see that history repeats itself. Photojournalism is, I mean, you risk your life, you put, you know, you work long hours, and you don't get paid really for what you do. You know, they don't pay much. So the main reason you do that is because you believe that, you know, if you do something and if you share it, we can improve ourselves.